Hi, I'm Mark Tyrrell of Uncommon Knowledge, and welcome to Avoiding Emotional Burnout for Practitioners. 5 ways to keep yourself safe from the emotional contagion of troubled clients. Now, the writer, Ed Cunningham, said, "Friends are those rare people who ask us how we are and then wait to hear the answer." And of course, there's a ritualistic element to asking someone how they are, and a long description of how we are might not be required at a social event, but I know what he means. Real friends are supportive and giving and allow you to support and give to them in return. Anyway, I'd like to share something personal with you. 30 plus years back, maybe nearly 40 years back now, after a few weeks working with patients on a psych ward, I felt something strange and awful was happening to me. I was so focused on the patients with their depressions and psychoses and addictions and terrible life histories that I found that I was mulling over their situations all the time. I worried about them when I wasn't at work. In my spare time, I continually tried to think how I could help them be happier and live better. Maybe I was idealistic in my youthful way, but at that time I seriously worried I was having some kind of breakdown or existential crisis, as I lost perspective and any joie de vivre that I usually had. For a while I stopped sleeping and actually lost interest in non-work activities. I'd mull over particular patients and their miserable lot. I gradually acclimatized to my new work, and while I never lost sympathy or empathy, I learned how to partition my mind so as to have a proper sense of work-home balance. I began sleeping again, seeing friends, and I was better able to forget until the next shift the damaged minds and lives of those I worked with in the psychiatric unit. When we can be sympathetic, that is, appreciate how hard it is for someone without being swamped by maladaptive empathy, then we're freed to be more effective in actually helping other people. Anyway, I was reminded of all this recently by reading about some new research on emotional contagion. Emotional contagion is the process whereby people unconsciously and automatically catch or absorb the emotions of those around them. And this can occur through various channels such as facial expressions, tone of voice, body language, and even written or online communication. A definition of charisma might be the capacity to greatly influence the feelings of people around you, infecting them, so to speak, with your mood, be it good or bad, through facial expressions, energy, voice, actions, and words, quite naturally. So naturally charismatic people can affect the mood of people that they're with, even without speaking, simply by being in the same room as them for as little as 2 minutes. I've suggested that counselors trying to be non-directive with their clients may be faced with an impossible dilemma if they themselves happen to possess natural charisma, because then they can't help but influence their clients. But about that research that I mentioned, a recent study found that some psychologists and other relationship professionals are much more susceptible to catching negative emotions from their clients than others. So some people are more influenced by negative emotionality than other people. Not only that, but the researchers found that they could identify people who might unwittingly be at a greater risk of emotional contagion. In the study, 56 psychoeducation students watched emotionally evocative video clips and completed a self-assessment questionnaire called the Emotional Contagion Scale, ECS. Meanwhile, artificial intelligence software was used to analyze the participants' facial expressions. So using this AI software, the researchers were able to predict with a high degree of accuracy which individuals were more susceptible to emotional contagion. But the results showed something else worrying. The results revealed that those prone to emotional contagion were also at a heightened risk of depression. Of course, being easily influenced by the subtle and not so subtle emotional cues and experiences of others, and being infected with that emotion, certainly isn't the only risk factor for developing depression, but it may be quite a significant one. Now, I've written before about how to avoid burnout when treating depressed clients, and also how to set boundaries with clients. But here are a few more thoughts on how we can care less to help ourselves and our clients more. So, tip number 1 is be aware of the power of emotional contagion. Spend 5 minutes with some people and you feel like $1 million. Spend 5 minutes with other people and your morale dips lower than the profit shares from a chocolate teapot company. People who are less affected by the moods and dispositions of others are low in emotional infectability. Those of us who are easily affected and infected are high in infectability. If you suspect you're somewhat easily influenced by the feelings of those around you, of other people, remember that, so that at least you'll be able to better spot the origins of your feelings and put them into perspective. Tip 2 is awareness of your locus of control and understanding that. So locus of control is important when it comes to handling emotional contagion. In other words, do we feel that we are helpless victims of life, or do we believe that we have at least some agency in how we feel? According to research, our ability to change our own bad, grumpy, depressed mood is determined primarily by whether we believe it's possible to change our own mood. So when you notice your emotional state has been negatively affected by others' feelings, take responsibility and control over that. Realize that the power to regain a positive mood lies with you. Of course, this is all well and good, but we do need to do more than simply believe we can change our state of mind after being brought down by a particularly infectious client. So tip number 3 is build your own decompression chamber. So treating pessimistic, depressed, anxious clients can be uplifting, of course, especially when we help them make changes and live in more solution-focused and inherently satisfying ways. But sometimes we can't help but feel dragged down by a client. After such sessions, to avoid being made depressed by our clients, we need to be mindful that yes, we may have been emotionally infected by them, but we also need to remember that we can clear that infection by changing our mood after working with clients. We have that power, and then we can take steps to actively feel better, feel differently. So after a particular session or series of sessions that were hard on you, work to change your state, whether it's science-backed ways of lifting mood, such as going for a walk in nature, or exercise, or hanging out with upbeat people, because we know that good moods can be infectious, or having a cold shower, anything to change your state, or eating a hot curry, hello endorphins, or just whatever floats your boat. Do something positive which changes your state of mind and body. Such activities can serve as a decompression chamber for the mind and body after harrowing client sessions. And they do work, if you actually do them. Tip 4 is practice mindfulness. So mindfulness is a vital tool for the busy or even non-busy practitioner to keep you calm, hopeful, empowered, and well. The observing self, part of the mind, is a wonderful resource to calmly watch one's own feelings and thoughts and ascertain more objectively what's going on and what may be needed is an immensely valuable practice. After a session, some meditation or listening to a relaxation session or hypnotic audio may be just the thing to help you through the gateway from one disempowered state of mind to another better one. So the last point, though it's been said many times, bears repeating. Tip 5 is meet your needs in balance. Of course, if I'm starving, I'll have little to no spare capacity to think of anything other than food. So too, a failure to meet our emotional needs in our wider lives can interfere with our capacity to be effective in spheres other than and beyond simply meeting emotional needs. So for example, an attention-starved individual may unconsciously try to squeeze attention from a situation which requires him to pay attention rather than simply receive attention, such as a learning environment. Because of his emotionally starved state, he has limited spare capacity to learn or let others learn. Okay, this is natural. When we meet our needs in balance outside of our therapy, coaching, practice, or whatever it might be, we've more spare capacity to be effective and immune from negative emotional contagion during our practice. We're happier, healthier, and better at what we do when we care for and look after ourselves in our wider lives. So I hope you found that useful, and if you did, please hit like and subscribe. And if you want to hear when my next video is published, hit the notification bell below. I'm Mark Tyrrell of Uncommon Knowledge, and if you'd like to subscribe to my email newsletter, you can find it over at unk.com/blog. And thanks for watching.